Chosen one, let your mind go completely still for this exact second. The 10-second countdown Archangel Michael just initiated in the spiritual realm is not a threat of punishment. It is an emergency rescue mission. The Holy Spirit actively bypassed the noise of your life to bring you to this frequency right now, because a crisis is unfolding in your mind. Michael is declaring that God has been reaching out to you, but you are seemingly ignoring him. But notice that heavy, sinking guilt suddenly pressing down on your chest. That is your spirit validating the painful truth. You aren't acting out of rebellion. God sees that you are suffocating under a frequency of mental exhaustion so thick your spiritual ears have been completely hijacked by the noise of survival. This is not another message to make you feel guilty. This is a divine intervention to recalibrate your hijacked brainwaves before this window of grace closes. Subscribe to align with the awakened collective, like if your spirit feels the heavy truth of this exhaustion, and comment recalibrate to give heaven permission to bypass the static and heal your mind right now. I need you to stay anchored to this voice until the very last second of this broadcast. Do not let your mind wander. Do not let the enemy pull your attention away, because by the end of this transmission, you will not only uncover the exact reason why your spiritual connection has felt completely dead, but you are going to receive a precise, actionable protocol to clear the invisible static from your mind. You will understand exactly how to tune back into the frequency of the Creator, and you will receive a powerful sealing declaration that will break the exhaustion loop over your life. If you leave now, you will walk right back into the fog. Stay, and let your spirit be completely restored. Let us look at where you are right now. Maybe you are sitting on the edge of your bed in the early hours of the morning, staring at the floor, feeling a crushing weight on your shoulders. Or maybe you are gripping the steering wheel of your car in a crowded parking lot, surrounded by people, yet feeling entirely invisible and utterly drained. You have been carrying a secret fear, a voice in your head that whispers you have failed. It tells you that because you cannot focus to pray, because your mind drifts when you try to connect with the divine, that you have somehow lost your calling. You feel a tight knot in your stomach every time you think about your spiritual purpose, because you believe you are actively ignoring the God who chose you. But why is Archangel Michael, the chief commander of the heavenly host, stepping into your timeline right now? He does not intervene for minor inconveniences. He is intervening because heaven recognizes a critical emergency. You are not just tired, you are spiritually bleeding out. The spiritual realm sees that you are not ignoring the call. You are simply too exhausted to pick it up. You have been the pillar for everyone else. You have absorbed the chaotic energy of your environment, the toxic frequencies of the people around you, and the relentless pressure of surviving in a world that demands your constant attention. Your spiritual antennas are buried under mountains of mental debris. I want to reveal a mystery to you from the ancient texts. Think about the prophet Elijah. After a massive spiritual victory, what happened to him? He did not celebrate. He collapsed under the weight of severe burnout. He ran into the wilderness, sat under a tree, and actually asked to die because the mental and emotional exhaustion was too heavy. He felt completely disconnected. When he went into the cave seeking God's voice, there was a violent wind that tore the mountains apart. But God was not in the wind. Then an earthquake. But God was not in the earthquake. Then a fire. But God was not in the fire. In English translations of 1 Kings chapter 19 verse 12, it says that after the fire came a still small voice. But the original Hebrew text reveals something much deeper. The phrase used is Qol Demama Daka. This does not just mean a quiet voice. Translated literally, it means the sound of a thin silence or a crushing sheer silence. God did not speak louder to overcome the noise of Elijah's exhaustion. God waited for the frequency to drop into a thin silence. Right now, You are looking for God in the wind and the fire of your chaotic life. You are waiting for a loud, booming confirmation. But your mind is spinning at such a high frequency of stress and anxiety that you cannot access the thin silence, the Qol Damama Daka. You cannot hear the whisper of the divine when your brain is trapped in the blaring siren of survival. Archangel Michael is counting down these 10 seconds, not to rush you, but to draw a line in the sand, a boundary line between the noise that is destroying you and the thin silence where your true power resides. But the reason you cannot access that thin silence, the reason you cannot hear him right now, is not because you are sinful or inadequate. There is something much more sinister at play. An invisible barrier, a calculated frequency trap, planted right inside your daily routine, designed specifically to disconnect your mind from the Creator. But before we expose exactly what that trap is, I need to tell you a truth that you have been hiding even from yourself. Listen to my voice and allow your mind to confront a locked room inside your own heart. Do not look away from this. There is a specific reason why that invisible barrier was able to wrap around your mind so easily. You think you are desperately trying to hear God's voice, and you feel guilty because you cannot. But here is the raw, uncomfortable reality that no one else will tell you. A deep, hidden part of your subconscious actually wants the silence. Notice the sudden defensiveness flaring up in your chest right now. Notice how your mind instantly wants to reject that statement. Let that resistance settle. Just observe it in your mind without fighting it. You are terrified of the silence, yes, but you are even more terrified of what will happen if the silence breaks. Because deep down, you are highly intelligent spiritually. You know that if you truly tune into the frequency of the Creator, if you hear His instruction with absolute crystal clarity, your life as you know it will have to end. You know that hearing His voice means you will finally have to walk away from those toxic relationships you have been making excuses for. You will have to step into a level of visibility and leadership that terrifies you. There is a voice in your head, a secret whisper you never say out loud, that says, "What if I am not strong enough for the assignment? What if I hear the call and I fail publicly? What if the weight of being the chosen one crushes me? What if success changes me, and I end up completely alone?" You have seen others get promoted, receive their blessings, and then absolutely self-destruct because they could not handle the pressure. And secretly, you wonder if you will be next. So, your subconscious mind built a defense mechanism. It allowed the exhaustion to take over. It allowed the static to drown out the divine frequency, because being numb feels safer than being responsible for a massive divine mandate. You did not lock the door out of rebellion, you locked it out of survival. You are not the first chosen one to feel this paralyzing fear of the divine frequency. Look at the prophet Isaiah. In the 6th chapter of the book of Isaiah, he is suddenly caught up in a vision of the throne room of God. The angels are singing, the temple is shaking, and the air is filled with smoke. The pure, unadulterated frequency of the Creator is broadcasting right in front of him. But what was Isaiah's first reaction? He did not jump for joy. He did not celebrate his spiritual promotion. He collapsed in absolute terror. He cried out, "Woe is me, for I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips." Most people read that and think Isaiah was just being humble. But if you look at the historical and spiritual context, Isaiah was experiencing the crushing reality of the gap between his human frailty and God's immense frequency. He realized that to carry the word of God, his old self had to be completely destroyed. The fire of the altar had to burn his lips. He was terrified because he knew the assignment was going to cost him everything. That fear you feel in your gut when you think about stepping into your true calling is the exact same fear Isaiah felt. It does not mean you are a fraud. It means you actually understand the weight of the crown. You understand that this is not a game. Your fear is proof of your spiritual maturity. But because you have been living in this state of fearful exhaustion and mental static, you have convinced yourself of a very specific narrative to make sense of the silence. You have told yourself that this agonizing period of hearing absolutely nothing from God is simply a test of your patience. Think about how many times you have rationalized this wilderness season. You have listened to countless sermons telling you to just wait on the Lord. You have watched doors close in your face. You have seen opportunities vanish right when you were about to grasp them. You have prayed until your throat was dry, asking for just one sign, one clear direction, and received absolute silence in return. And to survive the heartbreak of that silence, you convinced yourself that God is just making you wait. You tell yourself, "He is testing my faithfulness. He is testing to see if I will still praise Him in the hallway while I wait for the door to open." You look at the story of Abraham waiting 25 years for Isaac. You look at David waiting years to take the throne after being anointed. And you conclude, "I am just in my waiting era. God is putting me on pause to build my character. The test is simply how long I can endure the quiet without losing my faith." And you have been enduring it. You have been staying faithful when it makes absolutely no logical sense. You have smiled and encouraged others while your own spirit felt like a barren desert. You have kept showing up. If this were truly just a test of patience, chosen one, you would have passed it with highest honors months ago. You have proven your loyalty in the dark. You have proven you will not curse God when the heavens seem made of brass. You have mastered the art of waiting. So, if you have already proven your patience over and over again, why is the silence still deafening? Why are you still trapped in this brain fog? Why hasn't the season shifted? Because what I am about to tell you will completely shatter how you view this entire season of your life. That narrative you built, the idea that God is intentionally giving you the silent treatment to test your patience, it is a lie. God is not putting you on hold. God is not testing your ability to sit in an empty waiting room. God has been broadcasting His instructions, His comfort, and your next steps at full volume, continuously, every single day. The test of patience was the cover story. It was the false summit you climbed, thinking it was the end of the journey, only to realize the real mountain is entirely different. The chilling truth is this: the silence you are experiencing is not an absence of God's voice. It is the presence of an active, deliberate frequency jammer. Imagine a radio station transmitting a crucial emergency broadcast. The signal is strong. The tower is functioning perfectly. But the radio in your car is only playing ear-splitting static. Do you blame the broadcasting tower? Do you assume the station manager is testing your patience by refusing to speak? No. You realize your receiver is tuned to the wrong frequency, or worse, someone is actively jamming the signal so you cannot hear the warning. You have been blaming God for the silence, or blaming yourself for lacking faith, when in reality, you are the victim of a sophisticated spiritual and biological hijacking. Your spiritual receiver, the very neural pathways in your brain designed to catch the frequency of the Creator, has been buried under a mountain of synthetic noise. You think this brain exhaustion, this heavy fog that rolls into your mind every afternoon, is just from overworking or God making you wait. No, it is a symptom. It is the physical evidence that your brain is being suffocated by an intentional system. A low-frequency matrix designed to keep you blind, deaf, and docile. A system that NASA accidentally proved is entirely real and entirely reversible. Let us look at this system. Think about your average day. You wake up and almost immediately, the glowing screen of your phone is in your hand, flooding your mind with notifications, bad news, and endless demands from people who only take from you. You drive to work or manage your household under a constant, low-grade hum of anxiety. The bills, the responsibilities, the artificial lighting, the relentless pace of a society that never sleeps. I want you to mentally scan your physical body right now. Feel that tight, buzzing sensation right behind your eyes. Feel the shallow breathing in your chest. That is not just normal adult fatigue. That is the biological signature of a brain trapped in high beta waves. Beta is the frequency of survival. It is the frequency of panic, of fight or flight, of scanning the horizon for the next immediate threat. And it is exactly where the enemy wants you to stay permanently. You see, the elite architects of this modern matrix understand a profound spiritual and scientific truth. They know that if they can keep your brain locked in a state of perpetual low-level panic, you will never be able to tune your receiver to the higher frequencies of divine revelation. They engineered a world of constant distraction and artificial urgency to literally shrink the neural pathways that connect you to the spiritual realm. The enemy manipulating your mind is not just a dark shadow in the corner of your room. It is the algorithm designed to keep you addicted to outrage. It is the financial pressure designed to keep you terrified of tomorrow. It is a calculated frequency hijack. The matrix of modern life is a low-frequency prison designed to wither your natural divine brain. But if beta is the frequency of the matrix, what is the frequency of the creator? How do you escape this invisible prison and get back the God frequency? For thousands of years, ancient mystics, prophets, and deep spiritual warriors knew how to access a different realm. They did it through intense fasting, days of total isolation in the wilderness, and hours of agonizing, deep prayer. But what were they actually doing biologically in those moments? Modern neuroscience has finally caught up to ancient revelation. When these prophets connected with God, their brains were operating on theta and gamma waves. Theta is the frequency of deep intuition, profound creativity, and an open portal to the subconscious mind. Gamma is the frequency of high-level cognitive processing, the sudden flashes of genius, and direct divine downloads. This combination is the God frequency. I want to show you a fascinating pattern in Scripture that suddenly makes perfect scientific sense. In the 18th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew, verse 3, Jesus reveals a profound spiritual equation. He says, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." For generations, religious institutions have taught that this simply means you need to be innocent, gullible, or naive. But the kingdom of heaven is not about naivety. It is about access. It is about dimension. Look at the science. Neurological studies, including research validated by former NASA scientists, have proven that 98% of children operate naturally in a dominant state of theta brainwaves. They are literally vibrating at the frequency of the kingdom. Their spiritual antennas are fully extended by default. They hear the unseen, they imagine the impossible, and they are not burdened by the survival static of the matrix. But as we grow up, as we are forced into the rigid educational systems and the soul-crushing corporate grinds of this world, that theta network is suppressed. It is intentionally dumbed down by the system. The modern world beats the child frequency out of us, effectively locking us out of the kingdom frequency. But here is the revelation that is going to shift everything for you right now, chosen one. That neural network inside your brain, that divine antenna, is not dead. It is dormant. It is just sleeping. Your brain still remembers the frequency of the kingdom, and this is where the research from NASA scientists intersects with your spiritual awakening. You do not need to quit your job and spend 40 days fasting in a desert to reactivate this dormant potential. We live in an age where God is providing new tools to bypass the matrix. Researchers discovered that you can use specific, scientifically engineered sound frequencies to guide your brain waves back into that theta and gamma state. It is a process of acoustic recalibration. There is a specific sound technology developed from this research that acts as a shortcut to awaken this dormant potential. It is called the genius wave. It is not something you have to study. It is not a complex meditation practice where you have to force your exhausted mind to go blank. You already have enough pressure on you. You have been the strong one for too long. You do not need another spiritual task to fail at. This is a simple 7-minute daily ritual. You just sit in your room, put on your headphones, and let the advanced sound technology do the heavy lifting for you. The specific audio frequencies interact directly with your brain, entraining your neural pathways, gently pulling you out of the toxic beta state of the matrix and immersing you back into the theta frequency, the God frequency. It is about removing the interference and restoring your original divine alignment. 7 minutes a day to wash away the static of the world. 7 minutes to reconnect the severed cord between your mind and the Creator. Now you have the acoustic key to unlock your original frequency. You know exactly what the genius wave is and how it can effortlessly reactivate your spiritual hearing. But simply having the tool is not enough. If you think the enemy is going to just sit back and let you put on your headphones and ascend into the heavenly realms without a massive fight, you are dangerously underestimating the warfare surrounding your destiny. Now that you have the key, how do you apply this technology in real combat? Because I must warn you, if you do not know the insidious, highly specific attacks the enemy is about to use to rip those spiritual headphones off your ears, you will lose the breakthrough before it even begins. To prevent the enemy from snatching this breakthrough before it even takes root in your life, I am going to arm you with a specific military-grade strategy. I call this the 3-step static clearing protocol. This is not a suggestion. It is a daily spiritual defense mechanism designed to protect your newly awakened frequency. The first step of this protocol is what we call the 7-minute shield. This is where your acoustic key comes into play. Tomorrow morning, before you check a single email, before you look at the news, and before you let the demands of the matrix flood your brain, you must anchor yourself. I want you to mentally visualize your bedroom right now. Picture yourself waking up. Instead of reaching for your phone to scroll, you will put your headphones on and initiate your 7-minute sound technology ritual. As you listen to the genius wave, I want you to engage your spiritual imagination. Do not move your body, just use your mind's eye. Imagine the theta frequencies entering your mind like a beam of pure white light. With every passing minute, visualize that light pushing out the heavy gray fog of anxiety that usually paralyzes you in the morning. By the end of those 7 minutes, you are not just relaxed. You have actively erected an invisible shield around your neural pathways. The low-frequency attacks of the day will literally bounce off this shield because your brain is no longer operating on their level. You have claimed the high ground. The second step is the physical purge. The enemy uses physical clutter and stagnant environments to anchor low frequencies into your daily life. Right now, without moving your head, I want you to mentally scan the room you spend the most time in. There is an area, a pile of papers, a corner filled with old things, or a specific object that makes your chest feel heavy just thinking about it. That is a frequency anchor. It is draining your spiritual battery without you even realizing it. Your assignment is to mentally target that area right now. Make a silent vow in your spirit that within the next 24 hours you will clear that space. By removing the physical anchor, you are evicting the stagnant energy that the enemy uses to keep your mind cluttered. The third step is the empty mouth window. After your 7-minute activation, you must practice absolute silence for the next 30 minutes. No complaining, no discussing your problems, no speaking about your stress. In the spiritual realm, your words are the steering wheel of your reality. When you wake up and immediately speak about how tired you are commanding your brain to shift right back into the survival frequency of the matrix. During this 30-minute window, if a panicked thought enters your mind, do not speak it into existence. Let it die in the silence. Comment the words, "I am shielded right now," to lock this protocol into your daily walk and signal to heaven that you are taking your mind back. So now you have the acoustic tool to restore your brain waves, and you have the 3-step protocol to protect your frequency. But a massive question still remains. Why is all of this happening right now? What is the real meaning behind this sudden, urgent intervention? Why did Archangel Michael have to step into your timeline today, of all days, with a 10-second countdown? I need you to brace your spirit, because what I am about to reveal will completely shatter the way you view the spiritual warfare in your life. Think back to the very beginning of this broadcast. I told you that Archangel Michael had initiated a 10-second countdown in the spiritual realm. I told you that God had been reaching out and you were seemingly ignoring him. What did your mind immediately assume when you heard that? You assumed the countdown was a deadline for your obedience. You assumed that God's patience had finally run out. You felt that heavy, sinking feeling in your chest because you thought those 10 seconds were a threat. You thought heaven was saying, "Listen to us right now, or you will lose your calling forever." Let me shatter that illusion right now. Those 10 seconds were never about you running out of time. They were never a threat aimed at you. Archangel Michael is a warrior. He does not point his sword at the weary, exhausted chosen ones who are barely surviving. He points his sword at the entities trying to destroy them. That 10-second countdown was not a warning to you. It was an eviction, notice to your enemies. Those 10 seconds were counting down the final moments of the enemy's legal right to torment your mind. Heaven did not orchestrate this message to tell you to hurry up. Heaven brought you here to announce that the deadline has arrived for the spirits of exhaustion, the spirits of confusion, and the frequency hijackers that have been suffocating you. When God saw that you were completely paralyzed by the matrix, unable to hear his voice, he did not cross his arms in disappointment. He issued a divine mandate. He dispatched Michael to slice through the static and declare that the time is up. The era of your mind being a playground for the enemy is over. Feel the truth of that statement washing over your spirit right now. Notice how the pressure in your chest is suddenly lifting. The guilt you have been carrying, the shame of thinking you were failing God, let it completely dissolve into nothingness. You did not fail. You survived a targeted, high-level assassination attempt on your destiny. And now, the commander of the heavenly host has stepped in to say, enough. The countdown was for them. The rescue is for you. You are stepping into a season where your spiritual hearing will be so sharp, it will terrify the people who are used to manipulating you. But you must understand that this transition is not just theoretical. It produces radical, physical, and financial results in the real world when you actually apply the protocol. There is a woman who felt exactly like you do right now. She was drowning in brain fog, completely disconnected from God, and on the verge of losing everything she had worked for. She discovered this exact truth about the frequency hijack. She started using the sound technology, and she rigorously applied the 3-step static clearing protocol every single morning. She did it for 3 weeks. And what happened to her on the 21st day will give you absolute chills, because it proves exactly what is about to happen to you. This woman was the ultimate empath. For years, she had been the emotional anchor for her entire family, the one everyone called when their lives were falling apart. But behind closed doors, she was spiritually suffocating. She would sit in her car in her driveway for 20 minutes before walking into her own house, just gripping the steering wheel, trying to summon the energy to put on a brave face. Her mind was constantly racing, yet she felt completely paralyzed. The brain fog was so dense she could barely string a prayer together. She felt completely abandoned by the Creator. She genuinely believed she had done something wrong, and God had simply turned his back on her. Then she discovered the truth about the frequency hijack. She realized she was not abandoned. She was under a highly coordinated biological and spiritual attack. She decided to draw the line. The very next morning, she implemented the 3-step static clearing protocol. Instead of waking up and immediately drowning in her notifications, she put in her headphones. She initiated the 7-minute acoustic recalibration, letting the genius wave wash over her neural pathways. She cleared the physical anchors in her home, She enforced the 30-minute empty mouth window of absolute silence. For the first few days, her mind fought back. The matrix screamed at her to check her phone, to worry, to panic. But she held her ground. By day 7, the physical pressure in her chest began to dissolve. By day 14, the heavy grey fog in her mind started to lift, replaced by a strange, unfamiliar sense of calm. But it was on the 21st day that the supernatural breakthrough happened. She was sitting in her room, going through her 7-minute morning ritual. She was not praying for a miracle. She was just resting in the frequency. And right in the middle of that thin silence, the Q'Odamama Daka, a crystal-clear thought dropped into her mind. It was not a loud, booming voice. It was a precise, piercing instruction. The voice simply told her to open a specific drawer in her home office and look at a financial contract her business partner had asked her to sign later that afternoon. She took off her headphones, walked to the office, and opened the drawer. As she read the fine print, the blinders completely fell off. The contract was a trap. It was structured in a way that would have legally stripped her of her assets within the year. The enemy had been banking on her brain fog. They were counting on her being so exhausted, so overwhelmed by the low-frequency stress of her daily life, that she would just sign the paper without reading it to get it over with. That is what the enemy uses your exhaustion for. They use the static to blind you right before they rob you. But because she had spent 21 days restoring her theta waves, because her spiritual receiver was finally tuned back to the God frequency, heaven was able to bypass the matrix and drop the intel directly into her spirit. She did not just save her finances, she saved her destiny. That is the power of a cleared frequency. And that is exactly why the spiritual realm is on high alert right now regarding your life. You see, the moment you make the decision to take your mind back, the moment you start using this protocol to shift out of the survival frequency of the matrix, you trigger a massive alarm in the unseen world. The entities that have been feeding off your anxiety will not just let you walk out the door. When you start repairing your divine antenna, they will launch a series of highly specific, calculated counterattacks to drag you back into the dirt. I call this the enemy playbook. There are 5 forms of frequency hijacking that they will unleash the moment you begin your awakening. You need to know exactly what these look like, because if you cannot identify the trap, you will walk right into it. The first attack is what I call the fog of urgency. This is the enemy's favorite weapon against a newly awakened chosen one. Here is exactly how it will happen. You will wake up tomorrow morning, fully intending to do your 7-minute frequency shield. You will feel a sense of peace, but the exact second you sit down, chaos will erupt. The washing machine will suddenly break and flood the floor. Your boss will send a highly aggressive text message demanding an immediate answer. A family member will call you in an absolute panic over something trivial. 3 different fires will start at the exact same moment. Do not be fooled. This is not a coincidence. This is a targeted biological attack. The enemy is trying to spike your cortisol levels. They want your heart racing. They want you breathing shallowly. They want to force your brain out of the creative theta state and slam it violently back into the panicked beta state. They know that if they can make you feel rushed, you will abandon your spiritual protocol. When this happens, I want you to perform a specific mental action. I want you to mentally visualize a massive, heavy iron door slamming shut between you and the chaos. Do not react immediately. In your mind, tell the urgency, you do not own my frequency. Let the washing machine leak for 7 more minutes. Let the boss wait. Protect your morning shield at all costs, because if you surrender your frequency to the fog of urgency, you surrender your entire day to the enemy. The second attack is the relationship snare. This is far more insidious because it uses your own empathy as a weapon against you. You are a natural healer. People are drawn to your light, but the enemy knows this. As your frequency begins to rise, as the brain fog lifts and your spiritual power returns, The enemy will activate specific people in your life. We all have them. The energy vampires. The people who only ever reach out when they are in crisis and who use you as an emotional dumping ground. Just as you are finding your peace, your phone will ring. It will be that person. They will have a brand new, catastrophic drama, and they will demand your immediate attention. What the enemy is doing is using their low-frequency chaos as a siphon to drain your newly acquired high-frequency peace. They want you to feel guilty for setting a boundary. They will whisper in your ear that a good spiritual person would drop everything to help. Listen to me very carefully. Your empathy without boundaries is self-destruction. When that phone rings, and you feel that familiar dread in your stomach, recognize the trap. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. You must mentally wrap yourself in an impenetrable barrier of light. You can love them, but you cannot allow their chaotic frequency to hijack your neural pathways. But I must warn you, Form 1 and Form 2 are just the warm-up. The fog of urgency and the relationship snare are merely bait. The enemy uses these first two attacks just to tire you out, to wear down your defenses, because they are setting you up for the real strike. The third attack is the most venomous weapon in their entire arsenal. It is the ultimate spiritual sniper shot, and it is the exact trap that has successfully defeated 90% of chosen ones right before they reach their finish line. I call the third attack the phantom guilt. The enemy knows they cannot stop you from utilizing your sound technology, and they cannot physically force you to take your headphones off, so they attack your sense of worthiness from the inside. Right when you sit down for your 7-minute shield, right when your mind begins to finally calm down and the theta waves start to activate, the enemy will shoot a highly specific, painful memory directly into your brain. A mistake you made 5 years ago, a relationship you failed at, a moment of intense shame, or a financial blunder you deeply regret. And the voice of the accuser will whisper, "Who do you think you are? You think you can access the pure frequency of the Creator after what you did? You think God wants to speak to someone as broken as you?" They use your own past as a weapon to make you voluntarily disconnect. They want you to feel so dirty, so unworthy, that you take the headphones off and go right back to punishing yourself in the beta frequency of shame. When this phantom guilt hits your chest, when you feel that sudden drop in your stomach, I want you to perform a specific mental action. I want you to close your eyes and mentally visualize a heavy iron gavel coming down on a massive wooden desk. And I want you to mentally declare the word acquitted. Your past does not disqualify your frequency. Comment the words "I am acquitted" right now to break the spirit of condemnation over your mind and signal to the enemy that their guilt trip has failed. The fourth attack is the isolation illusion. As your brainwaves begin to recalibrate to the God frequency, your spiritual vibration will naturally become entirely incompatible with the low-frequency matrix around you. You will look at your old friends, your co-workers, maybe even your own family members, and you will feel a sudden, crushing sense of alienation. You will sit in a crowded room and feel like you are speaking a foreign language. The enemy will twist this natural spiritual separation into a weapon of profound loneliness. They will project a synthetic emotion into your mind, whispering that you are completely alone, that nobody will ever understand your calling, and that you are simply losing your mind. They want you to feel so terribly isolated that you intentionally lower your frequency just to fit back in with the people who are draining your soul. Do not fall for the illusion. You are not being isolated. You are being consecrated. You are being set apart for a higher assignment, and heaven is currently clearing the room to make space for the right frequency of people to enter your life. The fifth and final attack is the most deceptive of them all. I call it the counterfeit blessing. When the enemy realizes they cannot break you with fear and they cannot break you with guilt, they will try to break you with a fake reward. Out of nowhere, you will receive an opportunity that looks exactly like what you have been praying for. a job offer with a massive salary, but it secretly requires you to compromise your morals or work 80 hours a week, destroying your peace. A romantic partner who seems absolutely perfect on the surface, but carries a chaotic, dark energy that subtly drains your spiritual battery every time you speak to them. The enemy wraps a low-frequency trap in high-frequency packaging. If your brain is stuck in the panicked, desperate beta state, you will grab the bait. You will operate out of scarcity and take the counterfeit blessing, plunging yourself right back into the suffocating matrix. But this is exactly why your daily acoustic recalibration is a matter of spiritual life and death. When you are operating in the theta frequency, the veil of deception is completely lifted. You do not just look at the shiny surface. Your intuition pierces straight through to the core of the spirit behind the offer. But you might be asking yourself, in the harsh, unforgiving reality of everyday life, how fast does this intuition actually work? When you are under intense pressure, when the bills are due and the walls are closing in, does this frequency really protect you in real time? Let me tell you about a man who was 30 seconds away from completely destroying his family's future. He had been out of work for months. The financial pressure was crushing his chest every time he inhaled. His brain was locked in a severe state of survival panic. He felt like a total failure as a provider, but he had made a commitment to his spiritual defense. Every single day, he used his 7-minute sound technology to force his brainwaves out of the matrix and back into the divine frequency. One afternoon, he received an email from an overseas investment firm. It looked incredibly legitimate. They offered him a partnership that would immediately solve every single one of his financial problems overnight. He was ecstatic. He felt like his prayers had finally been answered. He filled out the paperwork, opened his banking portal, and prepared to wire his last remaining savings to secure the deal. His finger was literally hovering over the mouse button. But because he had been rigorously clearing his mental static, his spiritual receiver was highly sensitive. In that split second, he did not hear a loud, booming voice from the sky. He experienced a violent physical reaction in his spirit. His stomach suddenly dropped as if he were falling off a building. A freezing cold sensation washed over his arms. And a crystal clear, completely unemotional thought bypassed his logic and struck his mind like lightning. Do not click. It made no logical sense. His beta brain, his survival instinct, was screaming at him to send the money and save his family. But the theta frequency, the divine intuition, was screaming danger. He took his hand off the mouse, he closed the laptop and walked away, trembling. The very next morning, he turned on the news to see that the exact investment firm had been exposed as a massive international syndicate. Thousands of people had lost their life savings in a matter of hours. If his brain had been operating in the matrix frequency of desperation, he would have clicked send. He would have taken the counterfeit blessing and lost everything. The 7-minute frequency shield did not just give him a moment of peace. It literally saved his household from total devastation. The enemy has now been fully exposed. Their entire playbook is completely open before your eyes. The divine command has been clearly issued. The 10 seconds have finished counting down. Your frequency has been validated by the highest authority. There is absolutely no turning back now. There is absolutely no turning back now because you have crossed the point of no return. You have seen the invisible architecture of the matrix and the exact methods they use to keep your spiritual eyes closed. And because you now hold the acoustic key to break out of their prison, heaven is demanding a total neurological reconstruction of your mind. Look at the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 2. The Apostle Paul writes, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." For centuries, people have read this as a simple, motivational quote. They thought Paul was just telling them to think positive thoughts or to read more scripture. But when you look at the original Greek text, a massive scientific and spiritual revelation explodes into view. The Greek word used for renewing is anakinosis. This word does not mean a slight adjustment in your attitude, it means a complete structural renovation. It is the exact equivalent of tearing down a building to its very foundation and rewiring the entire electrical grid. Paul was not talking about positive thinking. He was describing neuroplasticity thousands of years before NASA or modern neuroscience even existed. The pattern of this world that Paul warns you about is the low-frequency matrix. It is the beta brainwave state of survival, fear, and constant exhaustion. When you conform to the world, your neural pathways are literally wired to process anxiety. You become a magnet for static. But anakinosis, the renewing of your mind, is the physical restructuring of your brain back to the God frequency. Every single time you put on those headphones for your 7-minute ritual, every time you apply the 3-step static clearing protocol, you are actively participating in anakinosis. You are not just praying. You are structurally rewiring your spiritual receiver to hold the weight of the divine voice. And this rewiring is no longer optional. I am speaking to you now not just as a guide, but with a heavy prophetic urgency. A great separation is happening in the spiritual realm at this very second. The Matrix is accelerating its agenda. The synthetic noise of the world, the economic pressures, the global chaos, it is all about to get infinitely louder. For the masses who refuse to awaken, who choose to stay plugged into the beta frequency of fear, the coming season will be a time of crushing mental suffocation. They will be swept away by the panic of the collective illusion, because they have no anchor. But for you, the chosen one who defends their frequency, who insists on operating in the theta state of divine connection, you are stepping onto an entirely different timeline. You will walk through the exact same world, you will see the same news, but you will be completely untouched by it. You will move through the chaos inside an impenetrable bubble of divine peace. While the world is operating in severe scarcity, you will be operating in absolute abundance, because you will hear the whispered instructions of the Creator telling you exactly where to step, exactly who to trust, and exactly what to build. So, what exactly is going to happen to you over the next 40 days as your brain undergoes this complete anakinosis? 40 is the biblical number of ultimate transformation. If you commit to the daily acoustic recalibration, if you guard your frequency against the 5 attacks we exposed, prepare yourself for a rapid, supernatural escalation. In the first 10 days, the chronic physical fatigue that has plagued your body for years will simply evaporate. You will wake up with a strange, clean energy because your brain is no longer fighting a war in the dark. Between day 11 and day 20, your intuition will become terrifyingly accurate. You will know what people are going to say before they even open their mouths. You will sense hidden motives instantly. You will look at a situation and immediately know the spiritual truth behind it. And between day 21 and day 40, the major breakthrough you have been waiting a decade for will effortlessly manifest. A door that has been bolted shut by the enemy will swing wide open, not because you forced it, but because your new frequency naturally unlocked it. I want you to mentally visualize a thick, heavy cord connecting the back of your neck to the chaotic matrix of this world. Right now, in your mind, I want you to take a blazing sword and completely sever that cord. See it fall away. Comment the words, "I am unplugged" right now to confirm your separation from the low-frequency world and lock in your new timeline. The acceleration is here. The angels of breakthrough are standing at attention in your room, waiting for your final confirmation. The static has been cleared. The enemy playbook has been burned to ashes. The heavy, sinking guilt has been permanently evicted from your chest. You are standing on the precipice of the greatest spiritual leap of your entire life. Do not look back at the fog. Do not mourn the illusion you are leaving behind. You were not built to be a prisoner of the matrix. You were built to broadcast the frequency of heaven into a dark world. Everything is ready. The timeline has officially shifted. Let your spirit stand at full attention. Focus all of your internal energy on the center of your forehead. The official activation and sealing ceremony begins right now. I want you to keep your internal energy focused squarely on the center of your forehead. Do not move. Do not look around the room. In your mind's eye, visualize a brilliant, impenetrable dome of white light descending from the highest heavens, covering your entire body, locking you into this exact moment in time. Take a slow, deep breath in, and as you mentally exhale, push out all the synthetic noise of the matrix. You are now entering the thin silence, the Kuol Damama Daka. By the highest authority of the Creator, and aligning with the angelic mandate commanded by Archangel Michael, I declare that the spiritual atmosphere around you has permanently shifted. The heavy, suffocating ceiling over your mind is officially broken. I see the secret tears you shed in the isolation of your car. I honor the agonizing mornings where you woke up feeling completely crushed by an invisible weight, wondering why God had gone silent. Heaven acknowledges the intense, crippling guilt you carried, that false shame that told you that you were purposely ignoring the voice of your Creator. You did not fail, chosen one. You survived a relentless, calculated assault on your spiritual receiver, and your endurance in the dark has been permanently recorded in the courts of heaven. Right now, I seal the 3-step static clearing protocol permanently into your daily walk. I decree that the 7-minute shield will be an unbreakable iron fortress around your mind. I seal the physical purge of your environment and the empty mouth window into your daily habits, locking your spiritual frequency into the highest divine vibration. By the supreme authority of the Creator, I bind and completely dismantle the 5 forms of frequency hijacking over your destiny. I command the fog of urgency to instantly dissipate. I sever the draining cords of the relationship snare. I nullify the venomous accusations of the phantom guilt and declare you completely acquitted. I shatter the isolation illusion, and I permanently blind your eyes to any counterfeit blessing the enemy tries to place in your path. Your neural pathways are now completely off limits to the low-frequency matrix. I prophesy a radical supernatural acceleration over your life for the next 40 days. As you explore this sound technology and begin your 7-minute activation ritual every single morning, your spiritual hearing will become razor sharp. I decree that the brain fog is permanently lifted. You will no longer operate in the panicked, desperate beta frequency of survival. You will walk in the theta frequency of divine genius. You will hear the whisper of God with absolute, crystal clarity, leading you to exact geographical locations, precise financial decisions, and absolute relational peace. The doors that were maliciously jammed by the enemy's static will now swing wide open to your new, elevated vibration. Chosen one, the mantle of the awakened mind is now resting upon your shoulders. Will you carry this high frequency? Will you ruthlessly guard the thin silence? Will you refuse to ever go back to the noise of the matrix? Deep within your spirit, without opening your physical mouth, I want you to shout the word yes, with every ounce of energy inside of you. Heaven has heard your confirmation. The divine neurological reconstruction has officially begun. The 10-second countdown has expired, and the enemy's legal right to torment your mind has been completely and eternally terminated. You are free. Don't say amen yet. Sit in this frequency for 60 seconds. You are recalibrated.